If you visit Prague and want to learn about the history of the Czech Republic, you should visit the castle and fortress of Karlstein. Karlstein Castle is located about 30 kilometers from Prague. To get there, you can take the train from the main train station in Prague in the direction of Beroun, the route taking about 50 minutes. And about 30 minutes there is a train. Karlstein Castle occupies a very special place among Czech castles. Karlstein Castle is the second most visited castle in the Czech Republic. The castle was built by the Czech king and Roman Emperor Charles IV. In this place were kept royal treasures, especially the collections of relics and crown jewels of the Czech kings and Roman emperors. At the beginning of the war with the Hus rebels, for security reasons, Czech treasures were transported to Karlstein for security reasons and stayed there for nearly 200 years with short breaks. Karlstein Castle and Fortress was built on a limestone watchtower not far from the mouth of a deep valley in the flood-prone plain of the Berounka River. The castle was built by Emperor Charles IV on June 10, 1348. In 1355, King Charles IV stayed in the castle, overseeing its completion and interior decoration, especially the castle chapels. The basic castle construction was completed in 1365, when the Holy Cross Chapel in the Great Tower was completed and consecrated. In terms of construction, the castle was modified in post-Gothic style after 1480, then in Renaissance style at the end of 16th century. At the end of the 19th century, the castle was repaired and restored by order of the Emperor Franz Austrian Souls. Repair and reconstruction work were directed by architect Joseph Moka. The staircase arrangement of the individual castles is impressive. For the most active parts of the fortress, the Well Tower, construction continues past the majestic 5-story royal palace and the Tower of Our Lady above. At the peak of the cliff, the culmination of the construction is a large monumental tower, 60 meters high with a massive fortification system. In 2015, it was discovered under the main courtyard of the castle, where is also a secret corridor connecting the buildings and towers. The castle was indispensable for water, so the well diggers dug a well, which was 80 meters deep. However, they still could not find the source of water. Because of that, they had to make a secret underground sewer connecting the well to the stream near the castle. According to legend, the workers who dug wells and knew the castle's water supply were killed after the work was completed, so that they wouldn't reveal secrets to the enemy. The new construction of the castle progressed in phases in adjoining buildings, operating independently and supplemented with a separate fortification system, complemented by common fencing wall. The most essential buildings were built first, such as towers, wells, a palace, a smaller tower and gradually larger towers. The original single-story palace with the Tower of St. Nicholas was in operation around 1355. The smaller tower at that time was about to be completed. The construction of the Great Tower at that time probably had not begun yet. Emperor Charles IV moved here around 1355. In the early 1360s, Emperor Charles IV decided to place the treasure in the castle Karlstein. The chapel, consecrated February 9, 1365, was adorned with a layer of Czech mosaic mounted on gilded panels, and at the top of the walls adorned with 129 carved wooden planks and ornate. This is the largest collection of wooden paintings in the world. The spaces above the chapel served mainly for soldiers to protect the royal treasure. At the beginning of the Hus uprising, the Czech coronation treasures and jewels were transported to Karlstein Castle along with other valuables. In 1421, Emperor Sigismund moved to Hungary with the royal treasure. In 1421 to 1422, the people of Prague attempted to besiege and conquer the castle, but with no success. During the wars with the Hussites, Karlstein was besieged and the castle was severely damaged. Karlstein again became important in 1436, when it once again became a repository of Czech coronation jewels and land documents and the most important treasures. Czech relics and treasures attached to crown. During the first years of the 30 Years' War, the castle was no longer safe, and on the 22nd of June 1619, the coronation treasures, jewels and documents were removed. The treasures and coronation crowns of the Roman emperor were taken away and never returned to Karlstein. Currently most of the treasure is in the museum in Vienna, Austria, and is also a part in the main Aachen Church of Germany. In 1625, the Austrian Emperor Ferdinand II reserved the castle for his wife Eleonora as a dowry of the Queen. Also, during the period of Emperor Ferdinand II, the castle was occupied by the Swedish forces in 1648 and was severely damaged. Then the buildings in the castle were largely unused and the castle gradually fell into disrepair. This led to the fact that in 1812, Emperor Francis I, after visiting the castle, decided to provide the necessary materials and finance for repairs. Attempts to fully restore the castle, supported by the state, began in the 1860s. In 1870, Friedrich Schmidt submitted the first proposals for restoration of towers and palaces. Restoration of the castle was begun in 1887 under the leadership of a committee. Joseph Mucker was appointed in charge of repairs and remodeling in 1892. Renovation work was completed in 1905. In 1918, the management committee of Karlstein Castle was established. From 1950, the castle was administered by the National Cultural Committee. Until 1955, the administration was transferred to the Commission for the Preservation of the Monuments of the House. The most important part of Karlstein Castle is the Holy Cross Chapel in the large tower. The chapel, consecrated February 9, 1365, is adorned with a layer of gem mosaic mounted on gilded panels, and at the top of its walls adorned with 129 carved wooden planks and pages. This is the largest collection of wooden paintings in the world. It was here that Emperor Charles IV left treasures related to the coronation crowns of the Roman emperors and Czech kings, the most important of which is the Coronation Crown. The Roman crown was later moved by the Austrian Emperor Ferdinand II, and is now in the museum in the Hofburg Palace in Vienna. In the world today there are only 6 copies of the Roman Emperor crown. 3 copies are in Germany, 1 in the Netherlands and 2 in Karlstein Castle. Also, in the Karlstein Castle today there is also a copy of the coronation crown of the Czech kings. The original copy of the crown that was worn by the Czech kings and the treasures associated with it are currently in the Church of St. V in the city of Prague and is only shown to the public on special events, usually every 5 years. Only since the 1950s, major modifications of the building have been carried out, mainly due to the increasing number of visitors to the castle. In the 1920s, about 20,000 visitors. After the Second World War, about 200,000 visitors, and well-organized night theatrical performances in Karlstein. In the mid-1980s, general renovation work of the castle began with the restoration of the roof and facade of the Great Tower. Work continued until the early 1990s by restoring the re-roofing of the other roofs. Between 1997 and 2001, there were necessary renovations of the wooden ceiling structures of the palace and both towers, damaged mainly by tourist movement. Annual visitors to the castle is about 250,000 people. One of the legends that took place at the Karlstein fortress was the story of the blind musician and his very loyal guide dog. He often played music on the fortress. One day the Lord of Braunschweig and an entourage came here to visit. The servant was intending to poison his master, so he offered the Lord a glass of wine mixed with poison. The Lord, out of love and admiration for the blind artist, gave him a glass of wine to invite him to drink. When the artist brought the wine to his mouth to drink, his faithful dog jumped into his lap and drank the wine. Faithful dog died on the spot. The blind musician caressed his dog one last time and said, "Dear Lord, poisoned wine glass. People want to harm you. The blind musician did not know that the Lord's servant was punishment, but because he was so sad about the death of his beloved dog, he died a few days later. However, Karlstein also could not avoid the tragic moments which first occurred during the reign of Emperor Karl's Vaclav IV. In 1386, his first wife, Queen Johanka Bavaria, died. In Karlstein, she was bitten by one of the king's dogs and bled to death.